Hello and welcome to a very special episode, a one-off show that we're putting on together to pretty much just chew the fat and speak for a few things. I'm here today with builder and broadcaster Andy Stevens. We're going to pretty much go through the summary of where we are today, especially with where I am and where construction sport is, and probably yourself and of where you are. What's got us here today, what we look at, the stories we are hearing on a daily basis, the articles we're being sent on a daily basis, and try and ping things together a little bit. So I am probably at the moment getting it from a few angles of people. What is my problem? What's the deal? What's the issue that I've got with certain entities and organisations? And we thought it'd probably be best just to sit down and go through it, really, isn't it? Because I think to evidence, if anyone comes with me with what's your problem again, they can just come to this episode and see exactly what it is. So a bit clear the air. 2024 is coming and we can move forward and hopefully move forward positively. So we're just going to pretty much spill the beans, put it all out there, tell people what it's all about. And what are you thinking, Ed? What yourself?
Yeah, I think the key thing is this has been going on far too long. You know, what are we now? November 2023, numbers are going up every year. Yet nothing's changing. So clearly, even if you're not the sharpest tool in the box, what is in place and has been in place the last few years isn't working. Fact. Now, one thing which we were after was the latest ONS figures, which we were reminded by Alex, who's with Steve, that usually come out September time. And what are we now? In the beginning of November, and we still haven't got them for the latest figures, suicide rates in construction. So it'd be interesting to see what they are. But we all know they're going to be higher. I think the problem is, Steve, people are almost too afraid sometimes to speak out. Now, I just want to put it on record. Steve and I aren't here to start ripping into people, you know, slagging people off, whatever. We're here to try and create positive change. But in order to create positive change, we do need to look at some truths. And this is all public knowledge. It's not like we've gone undercover as, you know, digging away. This is all online, and we're going to put references to everything we talk about underneath this, so you actually better click on it and see it for yourself. But the major word is transparency, because where we are is frightening, and I think this is quite an apt time of year to do it, because it's the lead up to Christmas, which, as we know, both being trades, is not a great time.
Desperate times.
You were saying just now over a really nice coffee and bacon sandwich that you're hearing more and more site workers being laid off and redundancies, record companies going pop.
The last we went to the bike ride 6 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like that, 5 weeks ago, my maths. It's been the busiest 4 or 5 weeks of stories coming in close to home I've ever heard since getting interested in this topic and studying it. So that's probably the best part of the last 7 years. I've heard and seen more being spoken about on LinkedIn and stories going through LinkedIn, and that hasn't really been a thing. And this may be, fingers crossed, the part of people are starting to talk about it and do more, but we're hearing more of. It used to be a lot of, obviously, these stories were just stats that we're seeing and we're not really knowing a direct connection to them. But we're hearing from families and first-hand people now, and that hasn't really been as big a thing in the last years. It's just the stats, as shocking as they are, that's just the stats that we were seeing. We wasn't knowing these people, but there's been 3 or 4 in the southeast, 2 or 3 local to where we are today in the last 3 or 4 weeks. There was one come up just on LinkedIn yesterday. I think got pushed around and shared about someone who didn't make it back. And I'm like, is this increasing? This is, I think, the scary thing. Are people talking more, so we're hearing more of it, or are figures rising and rising and rising? It's until we hear stuff from the ONS, I don't think we're really.
The difficulty with ONS, it is the only figure we can go to.
Yeah.
There are other figures out there, but listen, we've got to start using the same figures. We can't start doubling it, trebling it for any other reason than we just need to be open with what the numbers are. Let's go with ONS.
Yeah.
I listen, taking that out of it. So the last 2 weeks, you and me, that's 2 out of 3.2 million in the industry. 2. And we're into double figures of suicides we've heard about. 11, 12. That's 2 people.
Yes, if we went back even just in a couple of weeks from that, isn't it? From when we last spoke, to speed things up a little bit, because there were some personal close to homes. I've even got a podcast of me speaking to one guy about what he's doing, and it's online. I'm not going to reference too much, but he's not here today. And I watch that program, I watch that podcast back quite regularly, and be like, you can't spot nothing in their hand. You know what I mean? It's like Robin Williams, like the happy-go-lucky kind of persona.
But do you know what? I think let's before we sort of start looking at the figures and everything, let's look at one positive thing to come out of it. Was that promotional video from Norwich City Football Club?
Yeah, that was a good one.
If you've not seen it, Google it. Very powerful.
It has you, doesn't it, the whole way?
So what you said earlier, people are talking about it more.
Yeah.
I think more people are being open about figures.
Yeah.
Losing people at work. But also numbers are going up without doubt. You've got some figures there, but it's pretty much doubled.
Yeah, so just going on that, because this was probably the first time I ever got, looking back at when these numbers were released, it was when I actually first picked up on the subject of, I'm actually quite interested in this topic, and that was back in 2016, 2017, when it come out that on average between 2011 and 2015, 1,419 people had taken their own lives. So if we average that out over those years, it's 284 people per year. And that then, I was like, fuck me, I didn't know anyone directly, but I had my own issues in my own head, that I was like, there's other people out there obviously having a tough time. And I could see it with the workforce I was working with, that people were struggling. But then from then, 2016, it then come out 450. We've looked online, going through ONS's information. 2017, 2018, 2019, I'm just not good enough at investigative work, so we can't find a number on those. Whether it's out there or not, I don't know. Hopefully, if anyone knows the figure for 2017, 2018, 2019, please let us know. We can put it to our chart. But then 2020 was 483. 2021 was the most recent one we've had, was 507. So if you're looking back to 2011, it was 284, and we're now at 2021, 507. And this is where it kind of, for us, I think, is the frustrating bit, is now you look back at what has been done as a construction industry. We're in uncharted territory, I get that, of people don't know what to do.
I think that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, I think that was acceptable a few years ago, but I think now we need professionals.
If the numbers had done it the other way round, you can understand the lack of togetherness, the lack of urgency. But it's not. They're rising. And we all met, let's just say this summer. I can't remember when it was. All the charities and everyone else came together. There were individuals from companies, organisations. To me, that was a golden opportunity to bring us all together, but actually work together. But what's happened since then, 4 or 5 months ago?
It's divided, isn't it, unfortunately?
But again, you summed it up perfectly. If you look at that meeting, it had the potential to be so powerful and strong and brilliant moving forward. But what it's done is, rather than bring everyone together, the ones in the room saw the body language and everything, it's divided people. The whole point of this meeting was to bring us all together. The difficulty with it, we got told in no uncertain terms by the Lighthouse Club, by Bill and Sarah, that we had to stick in our own lanes. Now, this isn't calling them out. It's just disappointing that working together, I think, would be a lot better than trying to scrabble for money, fighting each other, which, well, it's clearly not working, is it?
And it's worked in the way since we've spoken, obviously, with Sarah Mates in Mind and Brian at Rainy Day Trust. And we've only had 2 little touch base together, and that has helped things massively, because I didn't realise, Sarah, I'm very grateful for it. She says to Steve, if you need any information on statistics or any research that we've done, let me know, or let us know what we're looking at, and they can help us with some information. And I wasn't thinking that way inclined at first. And I thought, brilliant. And that's been a huge help. And she sent me a few things, fantastic, thank you to her, of just, things that I, as probably a ground worker, don't really understand when it comes to a lot of in-depth political corporate stuff.
Everyone's got different skill sets.
Yeah, so I was like, this is cool. So we've got different people in the industry all fighting the different cause, or fighting the same cause in different battles, I suppose. But I just from that, I've picked up that this could actually really work if we can. And fingers crossed, we can still pull it back together. I think there is a little bit of hope to try and pull it back together, because I think the industry desperately needs it.
There's a lot of, listen, I'm nearly 50. Over the years, there's a lot of people talking, taking pictures of these meetings, sticking it on LinkedIn and social media, whatever, to tick a box, reducing the stigma. It's November 2023. Let's not piss about. Let's actually put some sort of framework in place to make a positive change. And I believe the only way of doing this is by working together. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be happening, but the likes of yourself and Mates in Mind and Rainy Day Trust and others coming together is going to be very powerful. And as we said at the beginning, we're not here to start sounding people out, but I've had an awful lot of calls from people in the industry, all different levels, different backgrounds, about what one of the charities is doing, because there's an awful lot of money out there to help. But this is all public knowledge. We'll put links below the video. When you've got, as a charity, over 3 million quid sitting in the bank in cash, 1.75 million chucked at the stock market, which, as we all know, is technically gambling. It's hit or miss. You could earn, you could lose. And then the other thing, I think the one thing that really upsets me, having been there, having woke up in hospital after an incident when things weren't good for me, was when we were in that meeting and we were trying to work together to get the number of suicides so everyone understands it. Yeah. It's not you saying one thing, me saying another, someone saying something else. And when you're told by one individual, one CEO, they're just numbers. Yeah. That's a little bit of an insult. Yeah. And, you know, we're looking on there, the Lighthouse's latest email they've sent out, and it says they've engaged 19,195 workforce from so far this year, which is great. But then you go on to the ITV piece, which again the link will be in the video below. Bill Hill, the CEO, said the last 6 months we've seen over 30,000 workers on site. And then you look at the critical interventions, the numbers go up and down like a yo-yo. Now, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but we need consistency, we need transparency, we need honesty, and this isn't honesty. These are people's lives. They're not how many work boots or tools have been sold, and we've got to be transparent. And there's too many questions. You know, it's a big charity, it's done some brilliant things, it's helped a lot of people, but I don't know, maybe it's rubbed me up the wrong way just because of what I went through, but these numbers...
It's the clarity, isn't it? You say again, it being transparent, the clarity of what it is. And it's all good seeing 30,000 people, but are we changing anything?
Well, there is that. And I just want to take a step back. So these tours, let's just put this to bed, just so everyone, again, we're being clear about it. So when I did some work with the Lighthouse a few years ago, I came up with this idea of the tours because I'd actually put it to a big brick and roof tile company, tradespeople speaking to tradespeople, building the brands closer. So we went out, there was 2 brickies and me, and we went to builders merchants, we went to small sites, big sites, and recorded it, and it was brilliant, worked really well. So this concept I took to the Lighthouse, and it was agreed in a meeting that it was best, which I still believe, and I could be wrong, micro to SME companies, so up to 25 employees should be spoken to, because in my heyday, when there was 11 plus me, I didn't have money, time, resource to help or understand what to do with people's mental health. But now it just seems to be a bit of a cash cow. They're now charging to go to big sites, and we were in the houses, I always get them wrong, Commons, Parliament, whichever one else that we went to, and someone in front of us was saying that they put a complaint in against one of the people that was on site because they were quite rude, and her exact words were, we knew straight away they weren't a trade, yet clearly on their website it's tradespeople with a lot of experience. Just got to be transparent, mate, haven't we?
My one with it is, and again, it's...
As you say, what's this doing to help?
Yeah, and the thing with it is we get looked at as in what is our personal problem with them and what's the issue with them. And we don't go through grant schemes, never have, never plan on doing it that way anyway. So the money they're getting granted from the CITB, things might change, I don't know, I never say never. People always go back on the videos to see what we said and we didn't. So things may do one day, but there's been over £1.3 million in grants has been paid forward to support mental health first aid and awareness courses on the CITB's website. I believe that is through the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
But then also now, this was before this year, but then at the same time, there's also a study now what's come out in the 1st of September 2023, what says there is no reliable evidence to suggest that mental health first aid is effective, and studies examining the practice are high risk of bias. I clocked that in 2017, not trying to make myself sound big or anything, but I noticed it because I'd done the course and then someone rang me up wanting to kill himself and I didn't know what to do, and I thought, I haven't been trained to deal with this.
It's like saying, I'll train you as a brain surgeon in 2 days.
Yeah, and I knew that day, my boy had just been born, I was at home with a young baby at home, like figuring out how to keep this baby alive, and I've got this bloke on the phone that she's telling me he's ready to finish it. And I went back that day, and that was pretty much the turning point of, let's take this serious, what I'm doing. And from then, and I get it a lot, I think it's so dangerous. And it's obviously shown it, but there's evidence now, and this is a research reviewed 21 trials of mental health first aid training involving 22,604 participants, and found that medi-studies do not measure relevant outcomes. It lacked good quality evidence and were not sufficiently large enough to show potential differences in outcomes and a high risk of bias. So the CITB have put £1.3 million into that. Now,
but there was 400 odd grand for redesigning a website.
Since that, it's now a £400,000 portal to go towards supporting, I believe, I've seen it online, is it Lighthouse Samaritans in partnership with the CITB.
But that was on, they used to be in partnership with Mates in Mind and others.
But we were told in the room with Bill that the Make It Visible campaign was Lighthouse, Mates in Mind, Caledonian University or something, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And there was a fourth one. I can't remember. It'll be on the minutes that we got sent.
Yeah.
There was a fourth one as well. So that was I was like, but was these three? And I know we speak to Mates in Mind. They're not too sure how it's all going. I think there's a few things they need to iron out, and they've been quite.
But
clear
they're now
on that.
not part of it.
But they're not. But by the sounds of it, they're not part of it now. This is what I don't want to sit here and be seen that I'm just here to literally just write people off. But if we're handing over money that businesses like my business, like your business in the past, when we're contributing towards CITB or whoever companies are contributing to CITB, when 1.3 million and then 400,000 is going towards something that don't actually make sense. Not only that, but the evidence of what it's been invested to, there is reports saying it does not work. And there's also statistics that say it's getting worse and worse and worse. Are we doing the right thing? And I always say, and people say to me, what is the problem? Okay, the Lighthouse thing is they say they're the only charity. Okay then, so they're the only charity doing this in the mental health aspect of construction and supporting families in crisis. Do we hold them 100% accountable then? Because
if they're the only one.
If they're the only one. So I'm more than happy, I'm sure you guys and so like, I honestly don't want people to look at us and we're just criticised, because we want to make it better, but we can't figure this out. I'm trying to run an organisation, and likewise yourself, and it's a bit like, you don't know if you're coming or going, and we want to concentrate on what we're doing, and that's 2024 onwards, we 100% will, but we just want to get a bit of a clear canvas to crack on with, and I just don't understand the facts and the figures that come over to us and the reports, and it seems like the stuff that has quite clearly, from my uninvestigative brain, can work out what's going on isn't working. Why are we throwing more money at a broken mechanism?
But I would like... The interesting thing, no other charity... There are other construction charities, obviously yourself. There's I think I looked online, there's quite a few more.
And specifically for the crisis support stuff as well, isn't it? Because there's the other helplines out there, tech services. Yeah. Look at Rainy Day Trust, the problems they do for people. So put us aside, it's nothing to do with me. We're not a helpline, we're not a tech service. We'll never be.
Why did no other construction charity get a penny?
Yeah, this is what I don't understand. Why is it being filtered down one avenue? I know that construction sport can't help everyone. I should not be given.
This is where coming together.
Yeah, I can't.
All you guys offer different things as charities.
We can't help everyone. Mates in Mind can't help everyone. Rainy Day Trust can't help everyone. Band of Builders can't help everyone. Crash can't help everyone. All these other ones that are out there. But we can help a piece of that pie. So why can't you just delegate and put your money towards the other charities? I'm not saying it for that. Just, you shouldn't stick all your eggs in one basket. That's clearly a saying we've all been taught that from a very early days. Don't put, and we are. There's something with the CITB is the avenue. And I go back to the Leadership Council, and I'm very much confidently told by a lot of senior people they don't do anything, and there's no reason for them, but they are there to. But they do liaise with the people at the top in government, and that's how things get changed in our industry. So my head again is a bit ski-whiffed, but that in itself is why are we throwing it all down the same avenue? No,
but where's
it's
the
coming back with
report
bad news
showing the good, the bad, the ugly? Massive success, great, let's see it. Got learnings from failings, let's see it. There's not one.
And there's a testimony. I like to say it was about a testimony this morning about a charity's helped this person by diverting his utility bill for debts 10 years ago. I wouldn't say it warrants £1.3 million worth of support, but
the construction show channel that I'm working on to launch early next year, as you're aware with your website and social media, it does cost a bit, but it ain't 400 grand. Now, again, this isn't, please, I want to make this clear. We're not here to try and moan about stuff, but we just need transparency, because my view is 1.3 million spent in different ways could save a lot more lives.
Yeah, 100%.
Now,
and you can reach bigger numbers if you've got a marketing strategy, a digital marketing strategy, all this stuff.
It's got to be done together.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. But again, transparency, again, I know it because we get contacted all the time to go and do talks on site, and a lot of them are actually, depending on the circumstances of it or the criteria of it, I'll do a few, but I'll do them in my own way. And it's different. I get that. But we get calls that, again, just paint it clear, because hopefully we can actually get the truth of how it works. But the Make It Visible van, so you donate towards that. You can't. Bill told us that you don't donate towards Make It Visible campaign.
No, that's a brand name owned by Ford's agency.
Yeah, so like Get Construction Talking, if we look at that, what we're part of, and we're really thankful for it. You've got 5 charities, an Australian one, an American one, Lighthouse, Mates in Mind, and ourselves. So you donate towards their website, you go on there, bang, click, donate, bang, straight away. That gets divided at some point later on down the line between 5 charities. Clear as day, perfect. Everyone can see how that works, and it's going towards these 5 charities, ourselves included, to go and deliver the work that we do. And Fred Mills and his team at B1M are giving it a platform to be seen as much as possible across the world. Which hopefully, fingers crossed, will work really well. And he's definitely getting around the world, that's for sure, with it. But the Make It Visible campaign, you don't donate towards this. And again, I'll keep on going to say it, but I'm not saying it to it's just put it down. But I know from companies that speak to us, multiple ones, you donate towards Lighthouse's under the Hard Hat campaign, what was from a year or 2 ago. That is 100% their one. Yes. And then the Make It Visible team come out, and it's a minimum donation of £5,000. Please quote me if I'm wrong, and let me know. But this is what I'm told by multiple. I've had 4 companies in the last 3 months who've said to me, and these companies I know just through LinkedIn. Really, there's no personal ties to them. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't charge £5,000 to turn up and do a talk on site for half hour. To be honest, over the last 5-6 years, I've done far too many for nothing, really, because I don't really see the benefit or way of justifying half hour's money at a very large sum. To me, we're construction workers. You have to get your hands dirty to earn money. And if I stand there talking, that's not earning money. But it's just, I just want to know the truth.
We all do. As an industry, we deserve it, because we're losing people hand over foot.
And if we've got this completely wrong, and if there's something they can send us with this, so this is a breakdown of how the CITB placed this. The funding goes to here because of this. Because I would like to know, and I've not actually had this. I've not actually spoke to Sarah at Mates in Mind or Brian at Rainday Trust. Why aren't they part of this allocated funding to go? Especially if Mates in Mind are part of the Make It Visible campaign that was rolled out. So it was Battle for BT, Mates in Mind, Lighthouse years ago as well, wasn't it? I heard, and then Ford has just supplied the vans.
So basically, I can only comment on my involvement back then. So Ford's agency, I think something was done in Australia, or was it for another industry? Either way, came up with this Make It Visible concept. It wasn't anyone in construction; it was the agent. They're a creative media agency. That's what they do. They're very good at it. So this was the idea. The concept of the tours that we spoke about was to be rolled out, and that was how it was going to be, with mates in mind. We shot their ad on a Balfour Beatty site in Lewisham about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I've done a few ads, but there was a camera crew of 20.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was vans of cameras. It was a 6-figure production, and it was a brilliantly shot ad. But what is making visible? And I think this is a confusion. I speak to Ford's agency. I've got good relationships with them, and it's just back to transparency. Why isn't you, Mates in Mind, Rainy Day Trust, Crash, Bob, everybody under that umbrella working together? We've tried it. Sadly, it's not worked, and we know why, because we've been told to. I think it's quite an infamous quote now. We've all got to stay in our own lanes. So, if we take a step back, it's what can we now do? Because we know where we are. So, as obviously you're aware, and others, have been most of this year working on a new construction channel, which is going to highlight the good in the industry, bring us closer together, working together, transparency and changing the image to get more youngsters into it. That will be launching early next year. But apart from that, which is obviously we're going to be doing a lot together, what can we do you feel, to be more transparent? Because it's just little things like who's the man or woman at CITB that decided to give all that money just to one charity? It doesn't matter who it is, if it's you or
On what basis? With what?
Yeah.
Because these grant things are intense, and that's why we got rid of grant planning or anything like that. Because for me to get a grant, for me to be able to complete a form that says to get a grant, I need to employ a grant manager, and so I've got to spend a lot of the year writing a grant, getting someone to write a grant for basic application to literally just pay the grant manager's his wages, or his or hers wages, so we say. And I didn't really understand it, and that's why I'm like, so how do £400,000 for a portal? We've just built one for ourselves. I think we've just paid. Last month was £1,200, and the month before that was maybe £2,500, £3,000 for a team to go on the website, full shebang, build a lot of stuff, and they're doing a lot of stuff now behind the scenes.
It's mad, because that's roughly what mine's costing.
Is it? Yeah. And we're literally, they're done now. We're done, and we can kind of carry on, and then the price. There'll be different stuff we can implement over time.
So you're saying what? I'm not good at maths, but that's 1% of that grant.
Yeah, it would be
£4,000,
it?
400 grand.
Yeah, and that's decent. But then, is that going towards the Make It Visible campaign as well? But
no, that was
just the portal
redesign. It wasn't a new website; it was a redesign.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I just think it needs to be more transparent. Listen, if for whatever reason there are
what is the money
technical, but I've been working in the media the last 8-9 years, and yes, stuff does cost, but just be open and say, well, it's cost that because we had to have a new, AI.
It's all that, isn't it? So now even just going back on that, there's been a few things over the last few years we've seen come and go. There was one a few years back, I did briefly speak to a few people involved with it. It's gone very quiet now. I don't think anything's happened online, but there was one OwnMinder, was an app that was being rolled out by, what was it got on here? Erif, Lucas, Morris Rowe, Blue 3, DGP Logistics, Erif, it's just rolling around. And they put a lot of money, because I remember speaking to someone before, they put a hell of a lot of money into an app, big money, and
where's the app now?
It seems to, there's nothing online I can see relevant in the last year. I ain't going to pick too much of it.
If we work together,
this is it. This is just...
You could promote it, I could promote it.
Yeah. Then we've got Building Mental Health, was another campaign that come up.
Oh, I
popped
remember
up.
that.
CITB, Lighthouse, Mental Health, First Aid England, Mental Health at Work, Thriving at Work, Mind and Heads Together, all come together. What is that? I literally just typed it on Google this morning, look at campaigns that have come and gone, and it's another one what hasn't. There's another one, there was, Mind Matters was a survey, I think that was.
Yeah.
That was a survey one. There's just so much, and every year, I suppose it goes back to that under the hard hat thing as well. It's just every other year, it's just tweaked to make it. It's rebranding and put out as the same thing, and we end up with the same results. And that results now is the phone just keeps on going off too much with family members who have lost their loved ones because something has gone wrong. And I'm not saying it's, and we are massively always saying this. It's not necessarily the fault of the construction industry for all these cases, but if we don't investigate any of them, then we're never going to get anywhere. And I keep on coming back to it, but everyone thinks I'm mad with the RIDDOR side of things. Okay, if it's not RIDDOR, I get that. I get there's a lot of criteria of RIDDOR and how that would be reported. There's a professor, Sarah Walters of Leeds University, who unearthed the one and put that in the media with regards to the lady, the headmistress who passed or took her own life because of the pressures of the Ofsted report.
Oh, that was near me.
Yeah, so that come to light, and this professor, Sarah Walters, had been investigating that as well. And she said there is evidence, or somebody said if you look it up online, it actually says there is evidence on there to show that the pressures of the work environment got to her and took her life. She studied that in France. She's like this professor studied in France and how they operate with workplace suicides and stress in the workplace. And they've literally put something in place. I believe it was there, Japan and America. Don't quote me on that one. I might have got a couple of countries mixed up, but I think it's those three where they have implemented something and they can now investigate. Then I'm not saying you've taken your own life on site, let's go and investigate your whole personal life. Can we do it as a way where we just investigate the work situation, the work environment, and then say, could any of these factors be in? And it's almost like we need to do a trial period of 5-6 years to then say that when nobody actually gets held accountable too bad, because all companies will go, no, I don't want to do it, we're going to oppose it, shall we say. It's got to be brought in, so we can't have 500 cars breaking down every year and not lift the bonnet on one of them to find out why it's broken down. You know what I mean?
The big word's accountability. If there's an accident, if someone's killed on site, digger drives over them, something collapses, kills them, there's a full investigation, there's then accountability, and then things are put in place to prevent it happening again. Yeah. And there's a big fine from HSC. But the numbers, obviously, accidents is what, 1/10 of suicide numbers roughly in construction. There's a lot of people to be held accountable. Now, you've then got a very difficult avenue to look at, and that's employment law. Now, I'm quite lucky. A couple of lads I used to play rugby with are very high up in the employment barrister world, and it's a very grey area. If I work for you as a subby, freelance, 0-hour contracts, legally, do you have a duty of care over me? Yeah. You remember the Charlie Mullins big thing about, I remember interviewing him a couple of times, and it's a big grey area. And while we've got such a high percentage in construction that are subbies, this is where I don't think we're going to get control of it. Yep. Now, there's one thing, I was speaking to some mates up north. It doesn't matter actually where it is, it's the fact it's on big sites. I've always said, so if we break it down, and you corrected me when we spoke last night, 3 areas of construction. You've got residential, which is you building your extension, loft conversion, whatever. Yep. You've then got your big commercial stuff, lots of new houses, offices, schools, warehousing, and then your area, infrastructure. Yep. The people at the top can't be so obsessed with bonuses that's detrimental towards the boots on the ground. Yep. And I've seen quite a few thousand people up and down the country over the years, spoken to them, it's all the same. To change that, from your background, does that mean changing the way jobs are priced? And we've got to take less pressure off matey at the top because he wants his big bonus? Yeah, so this is literally, it is. We spoke to someone years back actually, when we were going, Ricky Pretch over at Costains, he first mentioned it to me, what has always stuck in, and a few people have brought up since, is pretty much building it into the tender stage of how you support the workforce. Yeah. And X amount of percentage of that needs to be factored into what it is, and that's I still he brought that up, and literally from then I'm trying to see what it is on there. I'm just literally sorting this one out as well. Get that one. Is it was brought in at tender stage? Bring it in at tender stage to then. I'm just doing this. I've actually forgot to pay for my car parking. I just realised outside. So it brought in at tender stage. So companies can allow for it, but what we see a lot with now as well is companies they are just desperate to get paid, to pay their workforce, that they haven't got time to
actually support them more so. Now, as a worker, I would rather be paid than told, we can't pay you this week, but we'll, I don't know, give you a stand down hour or two. And I need to be paid. So, yeah, but...
How do we get to 120 days, 90 days payment? How do we get to that? That is absolute...
And the amount of companies I speak to, and they, at that 90 days, they then find out, they then get questioned about certain things on it, and then it gets...
And also, that's after your invoice goes in, gets lost in the paperwork.
Receive your purchase order number, all this kind of stuff.
So you're probably talking a month.
Yeah.
So that's 4 months. Then there's a few queries.
Yeah.
Your PO number's got a letter missing. Oh, Christ, really? Blah, blah, blah. You're looking at 5-6 months.
Yeah, 100%.
Why? It's got to be, 30 days.
Yeah.
I think that's a major thing because money worries are huge.
The Australian, we're speaking to a few people at the moment, the Australian system hasn't nailed it completely, but they've made a big step in the way that companies have to pay when certain times or are heavily fined. It's almost like the payment they have to pay gets doubled and they have to pay it.
Okay, mate, who's in charge of this? Let's say someone watches this and goes, that's a really good point. Right, let's get that put in place. This is where I get lost.
Yeah.
And I feel ignorant. You've got all these bodies, federations, councils, groups. Why don't we just have one?
Yeah.
So we've got Leadership Council, British Safety Council,
and we're in,
CITB.
We're in such, and the companies say it's not. So everyone go for LinkedIn. It's all about everyone goes collaboration, collaborate, working together, joint ventures, and they all hate working together massively because it's such a competitive industry. And people don't like change, especially in the construction world. That's why we're so behind times.
Stuck in the 80s still.
Yeah. So, and that is ultimately, I believe, because we don't like change, because people have got it cushy, a lot of people have got it right, and things are working very well for them in their selfish ways, unfortunately. The last thing they want to do is things to change, and they're the ones that are potentially in control.
That's why companies don't want to work together.
Don't upset the apple cart if it's moving along quite nicely.
So money payment terms is a big one. Yeah. I think manners on site, small, medium, large, whatever, is. There was a guy I spoke to, I think he had 23 lads and lasses working for him, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
He made such an effort. He knew all their names. He knew their families. He knew what they did at the weekends, if it was watching a football team, going to the pub, getting pissed, whatever it was. Just being personable, which costs you nothing. The amount, I can't remember the figures, so I won't quote them, but the amount of more work he got out of them was frightening. If you're there, now maybe it was a ground worker, but as a brickhead, you think, right, muck's running out, 10 to 3, fuck it, we'll go out.
Yeah.
I'll put another gauge on. We can get up to plate if we push this on. Well, that means we're going to be here till about 5 o'clock. But we want to do it because he's a good guy. And
you do sit. I tell you what, even from my own experiences on site working to now be in the position that we're doing and not being on as dirty as much anymore, shall we say. The main contracting world, the principal contract that I worked in quite a lot across a number of them, is a very strange world where you will quite easily walk into the offices day in, day out and no one actually talks to each other. And literally, I got a message yesterday from an old colleague of mine, Steve, you can remember this person? I was like, no, can't remember. He worked with us down there. I was like, don't remember him. Like, there's a strange, I don't know, there's just so many different roles and different responsibilities, especially in the major projects. But then when you actually meet the supply chain and then the companies, say the supply and direct suppliers to the tier ones, and you go into their offices and HQs, there is a massive family-esque kind of, everyone knows each other. They're proud to show you. I've been literally yesterday, went to another one, went round there, and they're proud to show you around. Steve, thanks for coming. I've got a meeting at 9, it's 9 for 5 past 9. We'll take you around, we'll show you around that this is how this works, this is this. And everyone's happy and want to be there. But you go onto site on the main projects, and I personally found, I thought, it's just being dogged. Like everyone in there, like the characters and the and kind of like the personalities are just a bit drowned out. And a lot of the, especially the on-site staff, will be clocking in and clocking out, and that is, no one likes clocking in. I've been into a prison before with work. Nothing personal, much to many people's surprise.
After a long stretch.
Yeah. There's no stretch, and it was easier for me to get into. What was it was with Saracens Rugby Foundation up in Hertfordshire, prison up there. I think it was the Mount, Is it the Mount or Feltham? Feltham's West London. Isn't it?
No, Feltham's near me.
Yeah, I think it's the Mount. I can't remember. Don't quote me on it again. I'll get it up and
Young
I'll find
offenders down there.
it. Yeah, it was easier for me to get into there than it was for me to get on HS2 a line this year. It was honestly, there was less security checks at the prison side than it was getting onto a job. And is that just getting? I get that a lot of that is probably to do with the protesters and the way that the kind of the media's pumped it up. But I'm just a few of the lads that are working with us, carpenters and bricklayers from kind of the housing side of things, had never seen a project like that before, and they went, "This is ridiculous." They couldn't believe it. It's like their theory was this isn't working conditions, and I was like, "Yeah, so this is just a different world we work."
But one thing you said, and it always, well, we've all seen it, but you're on bigger sites, I'm on the smaller sites, is you walk into a canteen.
Everyone.
So, if you're, all right, the older boys aren't, but the majority, if you're in a canteen, I went to a canteen, there's about 120 odd in there, and it was fork in one hand, phone in the other.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
That's their downtime. These need to be used more, and I'm quite surprised that, I'm sorry, but I came from an era where we had magazines, 3 fucking channels on the telly, newspapers. That was then. Who reads a magazine nowadays? Yeah. Very few people.
100%.
If you're in a canteen and you're reading a magazine, different story.
Yep.
I think as much as I'm not a big fan of phones and social media, but that's where we are.
The world is there, and we avoided it. We weren't doing digital media a few years ago, and then we realised if we want to get our message out to more people, we need to build a presence online. Unfortunately, and that we have an unsurprising amount of messages of it helping people. So we now know, and that's why we're investing in the studio here. And this is literally, in a couple of weeks we'll be up and running properly. We just jumped on this today just to make sure we get this out before we go for it. But it is a case of if we need to help as many people as possible, we need to hit the big numbers. We need to have a media strategy and go with that. And we need to have the brand and the podcast and the website and the on-site presence heavily as well at the same time. They all need to work in sync and be able to show, and then people can watch it and go, these guys.
This is where we're working together, because you've got, let's take Mates in Mind as an example, preventative, which I believe is the way forward, because having been there,
everyone's come around to that now.
When you get to that point, it doesn't matter who's there, what they're saying, what's around you, doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
You aren't going to go, let me just text this number. You can't fucking see.
Yeah.
You're in that zone. And I think that's where we need to work together. And then what I would say is if more and more things become available on their phones for them to watch during the working day or at night, then it's, if you're in that position, it's where do you go from?
Yeah.
A lot of people said they don't like talking on the phone.
Yeah.
A lot of people said, okay, we'll have someone said to me the other day, a safe room. I'm going to walk across site into that room there. Everyone's going to know that I've gone mad. I think the preventative, that middle ground, and then the end result needs to tie together, because
you're right.
Sitting down with a mental health first aid who's done a 2-day course, walking in a room with a special sign on the door.
And I've just seen them. You go on sites, the safe room or the mental health room. I've seen some called, or this kind of stuff. You're like, I'm like maybe a little bit too watched too many movies as a kid, what I shouldn't have. But I was like, someone tells me there's the safe room. I'm thinking it's got padded walls and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not being tarnished for going into that room. But even to the point of, and we see it a lot, and there are companies I work closely with who do it, and I will say, certificates for good work. My little boy comes home from school each week with a certificate saying he's done something, and they've gone swimming and done well. They get a certificate. They love it. Brilliant. Unbelievable. These are grown adults. These are men. These are women who have got families at home. They've literally just put their heart and soul into literally working 12 hours a day through every weather condition you can think, and you're saying, thank you, here's a certificate. I'd rather you just said to thank you to me, give me a pat on the back and don't offend me. But this is me personally. It's not for everyone, but it's a topic of conversation, and I like having it.
You're stopping for a cup of tea at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Go and see your wife and kids. Thanks very much for your hard work. That would mean the world.
Or even breakfast on us today.
Yeah,
the on-site canteen. But I kind of get to the point, like, or the voucher bit, there's a bit of money to it, but I see so much, and I find it quite derogative, is the word, towards it. And I did speak with somebody, I won't say the names, because I've got his permission to say it, but and he was saying the other day there is this thing, psychological kind of aspect to it, that certificate thing is we are the bosses, we are the senior, you are the smaller one, we will award you. And it's that, and when you've got a relationship like that, when the individual at the bottom is having to look up to people, then there's obviously that. But at the same, with the emotions of what's going on in this industry with regard to mental health, this is probably why you're getting a good boots and suits are so divided in a way. But I think that's another one. Literally, people, just a little thought to people out there, think about it and let us know what you do think about certificates being issued for good behaviour in a world where we're supposed to be supporting each other in a way. Even talking about it sounds a bit weird.
I think the reality is we need to do this together. If we're a little industry with a few 100,000, fine, but we're not. There's 3.2 million people according to ONS, but either way, it's a big number.
Yep.
And I don't think it's right that charities and organisations are fighting against each other for pots of cash.
Yep.
I think we need to kind of get together, which we are, some of us, obviously, which is great. But I think the key thing is being open and transparent. So
we've got one coming up actually, little plug to him because we haven't seen it ourselves. With Darren Barden's one, haven't we? That I Talk app.
Yeah.
I think he's doing.
24th.
Yes, towards the end of the month, isn't it?
The Friday in November.
And again, for the credit to Darren, I've met him quite a few times on the line, spoke to him at an exhibition, and haven't had good enough time to sit down and go through it all. But he's literally just said out that he wants to work with everyone straight away, doesn't he? Really, so fair play.
But that's brilliant. And we are going to support him and do a couple of talks and stuff. And as you said earlier, how bad do you feel saying, "Oh, I need some money for that, mate"?
Yeah. Yeah, this is it. And there's a few people out there, and they know they are, who have said to me, "Steve, I messaged you once before and you're the first person to come back and give me a hand because everyone else ignored me." And it's literally when these people, like, it's just human nature to help someone out, isn't it?
If you're working for a big media company and they want your expertise and pay you.
Yeah.
But when someone's put a lot of time, effort and money into something which will hopefully help a lot of people, work together and don't take the piss. Don't actually I want, travel money and a day's money. No. I think we just got to get, who was it? It was a friend of mine. She said to me the other day, and this is gospel truth, and she was for some totally separate industry, facilities and something. When charities are run like businesses, they lose their focus.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think we've got to remember what a charity is. It's there to help.
Yeah.
And rather than go on all day, which we could do several days on this, I think the key thing is to finish with, we want a lot of people to take stuff away, open their eyes, but also chuck a load of honest feedback and comments below. Because if we've missed something or got something wrong, or if we can tweak something from what we believe, because him or her out there is watching and going, that's a good idea, but if you do that differently, stick in a comment. And it would be great that perhaps in, what are we now, November, sometime early next year, we can look at these. And do you know what?
Good it is, and things do change, don't they? And we get told all the time. And so I think we've both had it before. I've probably had a couple in the last few weeks here. So I go, look at this one. I'm like, actually, you've got a point there. And it's very easy, especially like, as we both do, we can run with a tangent or whatever. To stop focus and go, there's a different way of doing this. And I was having a conversation last night and made me realise, there's a different way of maybe trying to tweak it a bit. But it's just being constructive, transparent.
It's got to be transparent, got to work together. I hope this is going to resonate with some people. And I think if we can get some positive feedback, comments, advice from people with different experiences.
I hope people can understand our frustration a little bit.
That's the big word, it's frustration.
Why have we got this bit in our teeth? Why are we negative about coming across negative online? Well, I don't like doing it, and I get that. And a few people have rightfully so pointed me out for it. It's just, it doesn't sound like yourself. I'm like, that's when I start, because I've got my teeth in the sand. I don't like it. I think I need to right this wrong and then crack again, sort of thing. But I'd like it. I feel a lot better after this anyway, probably yourself, Anne. But we can put it out there, put it to the masses. Let us know. Let us have it. Be honest with it. I don't mind a bit of criticism. I think
this is the thing. If you totally disagree with everything we're saying, just say it and say, actually, have you thought of this?
All best
or
friends.
Why don't we do it differently? And that's the only way we're going to move forward.
Yeah, 100%. As I say, all the best of friends always punch each other in the past, so you might as well let us have it a little bit, and then we can build and go forward.
Sounds like rugby days, doesn't it? It's a proper sport.
Exactly that, isn't it? All the guys on site, you always clash with them first before you become actually good pals with them. But that is, I think we've got a lot coming up. Next year's going to be looking great. I think we're rolling a lot of stuff out as well as yourself, and I think from what we're seeing is we are slowly starting to come together, maybe in a way, ish.
I think my summary, and it's a bit like a recession. The good cream rises to the top, the shit falls out the bottom. And I think I would put that on most things in life.
When the tide goes out, you get to see you swimming naked.
I think on that note, that wasn't your weekend. In deepest, darkest Essex.
Another weekend in Essex.
Thank you, Steve.
No, cheers, and always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Please give your feedback. Let us know what you want. A little special one-off episode. This studio's changing over the next couple of weeks. Things will come back looking even more professional and ready to go over 2024. Over and out.